What's up to all the viewers and subscribers of Untitled Inc. Today we're gonna go to the past, but not too far back. 16th century in Great Britain, a time where Henry VIII is the King of England. Henry VIII rules England for 36 years, and in that time, he gets 6 wives. When he becomes King of England in 1509, in the same year, he marries his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. Catherine gets pregnant, and unlike what Henry wanted, a daughter is born, and they name her Mary, and in history, she's known as Mary I. This girl being born ruined Catherine's life forever. Anywhere they went, in front of everybody, Henry would make fun of Catherine. He would embarrass her so bad, everybody in the room would be embarrassed. And the only reason was that she didn't give birth to a son. It's the 16th century, and Henry wants a successor for England. They tried and tried to get Catherine pregnant, but she couldn't. She only gave birth to Mary. In those times, if a man couldn't give birth to a son, they would make fun of him. And make fun of him because he couldn't give birth to a son. And that is why Henry would try to embarrass Catherine for this. Henry and Catherine would not get along until Henry found a new girl named Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn found out Henry is in love with her, and that is why she played hard to get. Henry would give her gifts every day, but she would refuse all of them. But Henry wouldn't give up. Until Anne Boleyn told him, if you want us to be together, you have to marry me and divorce your first wife. Henry was so in love that he said sure and accepted it. He divorced Catherine and married Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn was playing a strategic game and wanted to hold power. He knew Henry only wanted a son, and that is why he told him, if you want to give birth to a son, you have to make me Queen of England. But divorce didn't exist in the royal family, and it was something that was wrong, and that is why Pope told Henry VIII, you can't divorce your wife. Henry got sad and started thinking. Henry said, since I can't divorce my wife, we're gonna be leaving the Roman Catholic Church, and he made the English church a Protestant church. When they changed churches, he was able to divorce Catherine, and he got married to Anne Boleyn. And since he wanted a son from Anne Boleyn, he made her the Queen of England. But after 9 months, Anne Boleyn gave birth to a girl. This is the same kid that became Queen Elizabeth I. Henry gets really sad, but Anne Boleyn says we can try again. Anne Boleyn gets pregnant 2 more times, but they turn out to be a miscarriage. Anne Boleyn is in a bad situation. Her whole plan is falling apart. But Henry was extremely mad at Anne Boleyn. He said, you embarrassed me. You made me change churches for the whole country, divorce my wife, and you still couldn't give me a son. Henry didn't even want to look at Anne Boleyn, so he got to know another woman, a woman named Jane. And on the other side, the court of England accuses Anne Boleyn, and they accused her of cheating on the King of England, so she got a death penalty for that. Nobody knows if this is all true or not. Not only did Henry not like Anne Boleyn, but pretty much the entire country didn't like her, because she was the reason the churches changed. Her guilt wasn't enough, so they put witchcraft on her too, and they told her, you perform witchcraft to brainwash the king, and that is why you should be executed. On May of 1536, after 3 years of being married to Henry VIII, she was executed. Anne Boleyn got a strong nickname because she was the first Queen of England that got beheaded via execution. Some historians say after Henry VIII fell off a horse, he suffered a brain trauma and he wasn't all there in the head, and that is why he suggested to execute his wife. But other historians do not agree about that. The reason is that they didn't want to embarrass England and say the king is crazy. They swept all this information under the rug. 1 week after the execution of Anne Boleyn, Queen of England, Henry wore his wedding suit and married Jane. Even though Jane accepted this marriage, but deep down she probably was scared because she probably knew what Henry VIII wanted, and she also knew what happened to the last 2 wives and what happened to them. But you could say Jane was kinda lucky, and she gave birth to a son. A son that became Edward VI, King of England. But in the process of giving birth, Jane passes away. But she gave birth to a son, and Henry was extremely happy about that. But he didn't want to live alone, so he found another woman. One person close to Henry showed a picture of a woman and asked him if he wanted to marry her. When Henry saw the painting, he got really happy and said, "Yes, I want to marry her." She was a German, and her name was Anne of Cleves. When Henry accepted, a caravan started to come towards London. She got to London and got to meet the king. When Henry looks at her, he thinks about that painting he saw. He says, "Wow, you look so ugly. You look nothing like the painting I saw." But the whole country was waiting for a royal wedding, and they knew months before someone from Germany is coming to marry the king. And for political reasons, Henry couldn't back out and forcefully married her. Anne Cleves was the luckiest wife of Henry VIII because she didn't really become his wife. And Henry told her, "I could give you whatever you want, a place to stay, any servant you need, and just stay away from me because I don't even want to see you." And that is why they say she's the luckiest wife of Henry VIII. They didn't cut her head off and embarrass her. As you guys know, the King of England can't stay wifeless. This time, Catherine Howard is the wife that's gonna be up next. A lot of people kinda hate this marriage because Catherine was really young. Or should I say kid? They didn't know her exact age, but they believe it was 14 or 15. These two marry, but Catherine would kind of cheat on the king and would hang out around younger boys. People close to Henry would tell him that she's not faithful and she's cheating, but Henry would say, "No, I know her, she's not like that." But since Henry heard these people talking about her, he wanted to see himself, and very easily he finds out that she's cheating on him. Henry gets her to the palace and right there calls the executioner. He says there's no need for a trial. Execute her right now. So she got executed inside the king's palace. Henry doesn't have a wife again. There's no way a king of England can stay wifeless. He's still 51 years old. They go look for another wife, and the lucky lady is Catherine Parr. Catherine Parr lived a sad 4 years with Henry VIII. His health was declining, and so was his attitude. And eventually, at the age of 55, since Henry VIII was extremely overweight, or should I say obese, his heart stops, and Catherine Parr outlives him. And that's why they say Catherine Parr, just like Anne of Cleves, is a lucky lady, because if Henry stayed alive, somehow he would get tired of her as well. After Henry got married 6 times, he didn't notice if he was the problem or were these ladies the problem. Did you guys figure it out? Please let us know.